You drafted him this high for a reason. You got to give him a workload to see.
Finding those mismatches with receivers, there's a lot of ways to create that space.
Tucker has simply polished his game.
So we're just trying to adjust and make sure that we're doing the very best we can with our guys.
Hey, Raider Nation, welcome to another edition of Upon Further Review, brought to you by Coors Light. I'm your host, Paul Gutierrez. Raiders are coming off a sobering, a little humbling loss at Washington this past weekend. But the good thing about the NFL, each game is a season unto itself, which means there's always another game to try to get things right. And the Raiders have that opportunity with the Chicago Bears coming into Allegiant Stadium this Sunday. It's Pete Carroll. He's also a good positive stat here for him. He's only lost the fourth game of a season when he started 1-2 in his career, only once. So that should point to something positive for the Raiders. Also, the Bears, though, they're coming off a big win in Dallas. They beat the Cowboys 31-14, 4 touchdown passes from Caleb Williams. So let's just get right into it, and let's bring in our first analyst. James Jones is going to join us here via Zoom. James, always good to see you.
Good to see you, my brother.
So we're looking back. We got to kind of recap a little bit what happened in Washington. Didn't look like the same team that we saw in Week 1 at all. What did you see now that you had a couple days to kind of digest what transpired out there?
Well, number one, shoot, if you can't play special teams and you can't tackle and you can't run the ball, you're not going to win. And those are all three things that we did not do well out there in Washington. We did not tackle, we did not block and run the ball well, and we were terrible on special teams. So we got to fix all that. But not only that, the biggest thing that I'm seeing night and day from Week 1 when we beat the New England Patriots is quarterback play.
Yeah.
The Chicago Bears are 1-2 now. Why are they 1-2? Because their quarterback just had the best game probably of his young career. Play lights out. The first 2 games, his young career, he was not that good to start this season. So it's all about the quarterback play. These last 2 games, Geno Smith has not been on top of his game. If he can get back to being Geno Smith from Week 1 and the Geno Smith we know, the Raiders are going to be in good hands.
So now when it comes to Geno, when it comes to the Raiders, what they're going to be facing in the Bears, can the Raiders really, and I love talking to a receiver about this, especially you about this, right? Can the Raiders capitalize on the Bears' pass coverage? Coming into this game, they have the 4th, I got to look up the stats here, they have the 4th worst coverage grade in the NFL via PFF at just 43.9. The Raiders, meanwhile, they've got the 7th best receiving grade of 74, courtesy of PFF. How do the Raiders take advantage of that coming into this regular week?
Well, the Raiders present a tough challenge when you talk about receiving the football. You got speed, you got big bodies that can run, you got route runners, you got 2 tight ends that can play at a high level. Brock Bowers is probably the best tight end in the game right now. So they have a lot of weapons. To be honest with you, Paul, that's not the problem. Can we protect? Can we protect Geno Smith to get the ball out? Because Tre Tucker is going to get open. Jacoby Myers is going to get open. Brock Bowers is going to get open. Like, you have weapons out there that's going to get open, and that's just a couple of guys I'm mentioning. But the main thing these last 2 weeks is Geno Smith has been under duress. Can we protect? If we can protect, I love our matchup against the Chicago Bears secondary, especially with Johnson being out.
When you look at that offensive line, and I know from a receiver's point of view that's your best friend or your worst enemy, right? If your quarterback doesn't have time to find you down the field, what are we doing? So when you look at the offensive line here, they allowed pressure on 55.9% of Geno's dropbacks last week in Washington. That's the 2nd highest pressure rate that he's faced in his career as a starter. So the fact that he was able to kind of bounce back a little bit on a personal level, what does that say about him?
Well, Geno Smith is a pro's pro, man. He's a super leader. He's a pro's pro. He don't ever point no fingers. He's always, if it is a finger pointed, he's pointing it at himself. He's just the ultimate pro's pro, man, and he's the leader that you want in that locker room. So, none of that surprises me about Geno Smith. He's never going to throw his receivers under the bus or his linemen under the bus or anything like that. Like he says, man, we're going to watch this. We're going to get ourselves better. I got to be better, and we'll figure this thing out. That's just Geno Smith. But the O-line does have to do a better job, and I talked about it after the game. We need to switch up the cadence a little bit too, Switch up the cadence, be able to, get this defensive line to slow down a little bit, maybe some screen passes and stuff like that to help slow this defensive line down to help our offensive line out. But one thing I do know too, and I've played with some really good quarterbacks, from the Brett Favres to the Aaron Rodgers to the Derek Carrs, whoever you want to say, all of them, if you're getting pressure, they're different people. So if you can't protect them, they're different people. So protecting the quarterback is everything.
Even though Geno was under duress most of the day, he was still able to find a guy downfield to the tune of 8 catches, 145 yards, 3 touchdowns. Tre Tucker with a great day. When you see what Tre Tucker is becoming, is he more of an X factor or just a regular old factor? Because it's easy with his speed and his seemingly lack of size, you could pigeonhole him and say, well, this is just a fast guy, this is a speed guy, vertical guy. Oh, no, this is just a slot guy. How important is it to be seen from his perspective as being more of a complete receiver?
Well, number one, that's what Tre Tucker's turning into, whether we like it or not. He's turning into a really good receiver and a really good football player, and it's not just a deep threat. You see him catching these hitches. You see him catching these stop routes. You see him catching these in routes. You see him coming on fly sweeps in reverse. Like, he is doing everything that a receiver is supposed to do. It's not just deep shots down the field. He's catching the ball. He's getting some yak. He's turning into a really good player. In games like this, especially when the quarterback is connecting with you like this, that breeds confidence, and that breeds – I've been in situations to where I've been in a huddle with quarterbacks and they say to play and they look at me and they say, JJ, go get the ball, just because of the connection we are having right now. So – Geno Smith is going to be looking for Tre Tucker. He's a heck of a player, man. He's starting the season off the right way, but he's doing more than just running deep, man. He's running the whole route tree.
On the other side of the coin there, literally the other side of the field, Caleb Williams. He was spreading the ball around a lot. He had 4 different players with a receiving touchdown. The Bears, Rome Odunze is kind of their highlight guy there. What do you see from the Bears receivers and what the Raiders have to do to I don't know if you can stop them so much as slow them down?
Yeah, I mean, the Bears are kind of similar to us, man. They got a lot of guys that can play football at a high level and run routes. Rome Odunze is one of the guys that I like watching in this league right now. Just a big body, can run routes. And then obviously DJ Moore is one of the best we have in our game. They have 2 good tight ends as well. But the main factor is Caleb. If we can get Caleb off the spot, if we can make it hard on Caleb, we make it hard on them receivers. You watched the game last week against Dallas. He was extremely comfortable, standing in the pocket, not a lot of pressures, anything like that, and making those throws. So if we can make it hard on him and get him outside the pocket, I like our chances of holding up with them receivers. If the pocket is clean, I don't care what secondary you got. They're probably going to be able to make some plays out there.
And that's always going to be the key, right, for a receiver's point of view, keeping that pocket clean, but also – if you can't protect for your own quarterback, you got to at least be able to open up some holes for your running back, Ashton Jeanty. It seems like every single time he's getting the ball, he's getting hit either at the line of scrimmage, behind the line of scrimmage, or at the same time that Geno Smith is handing him the ball. When it comes to Ashton, he's a guy that you think is going to warm up, and we saw it in college. He always would have those long runs in the third quarter, the fourth quarter, after he would wear defenses down. Different league. The Mountain West is not the NFL. We know that. But he is a generational kind of a talent. Marcus Allen told me he's got the power of Emmett, the speed of Barry. What are you seeing from Ashton Jeanty and what he needs to do to get going if the offensive line cannot really create a lot of things for him?
Well, number one, we got to give him some value. We got to give him the ball. I think that's the main thing. We used to talk about it all the time. As for a receiver, your game does not start until you catch a ball.
Okay.
So if you don't catch a ball until the third, fourth quarter, your game has not started to the fourth quarter. You ain't took no hit. You ain't did anything. With Ashton Jeanty and what I hear when I talk to a lot of these running backs, man, my good friend LaShawn McCoy, who had a career year in this offense under our offensive coordinator, he had a career year value. He had the most touches, the most catches in his career in this offense. We have a young player who is a rookie, and we're not giving him the value. You have to let him get a feel for it. If he knows, hey, man, my left guard's struggling today, he probably not going to keep bouncing it behind the left guard. He's probably going to bounce it or cut it somewhere else. But if you're just giving him a carry or two here and he's coming out of the game with 12, 13 carries, that's not enough value. We got to find ways to get him going and get him some value so he can get a feel for the game. And then when you get in the fourth quarter, you've been tackling Ashton Jeanty all game long, he's probably going to run through some of them tackles.
James, thank you so much for your time. I always love talking ball with you, especially from the receiver's perspective, but also just as a general football perspective. Always a good time to catch up with you. Thanks for joining me, James.
Appreciate you, my brother. Thanks for having me.
All right, stay tuned. What we got coming up next, you're not going to want to miss this. Tre Tucker, the man of the hour, coming off his career-high game, 8 catches, 145 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's up next.
It's game day, the day we've been waiting for. And this is more than just a game. It's a passion, a lifestyle. Here at the Raider Image, you're part of our team. Whether you're in the stands or cheering from home, we've got your back. Feel the confidence, own the game.
We
are the Raider Image. Your game, your gear, exclusively at the Raider Image.
Here at Raiders headquarters, we love to make everything authentically and with love. Come on, that needs more sauce! Yes, sir! Hey, you guys are taking too long, let's go! Yes, sir! Pat, what is up? That's burn! Yes, sir! You call yourself a chef? That looks like bear s***! Yes, sir!
My name is Matt, and I am from Upland, California.
My name is Kevin, and I'm from Los Angeles, California.
I think Raider fans should vote for me because I've been there since day one. My dad used to be president of the LA Raiders Booster Club. I had a chance to attend every Raiders game.
Fans should vote for me because you're gonna see me at every game. I came to Las Vegas so I could go to anything Raiders related, and my dog's name Raider too.
My friends know me as Raider Matt.
I'm gonna always continue to be a Raider fan.
Trey's had a really good start to this season, and he's been very consistent. He's come through in big ways, and it's just really indications of more to come. We got to keep going to him because he's making things happen.
Welcome back to Upon Further Review. As you can tell there, Pete Carroll's talking about our next guest here, Tre Tucker. Trey, when you hear those words from your coach, I mean, you're kind of stone-faced, no reaction whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Pete's a great coach, and I think that's just the expectation, for everybody in the building, to do your job, and, you don't have to do anything different. He says that a lot, and I think that's true. And, to have the game I had, that's just me being me, not doing anything extra, below, just me being me.
Some more words here. When I was walking into the facility today, I ran into Mark Davis, and I told him that I was going to have you on the podcast. And his quote, hell of a guy, hardworking, he's reaching his potential, I'm happy for him. Again, no reaction from you.
Yeah.
When the owner says this about you, though, I mean, that's got to make you feel good inside, too.
Yeah, no doubt. At the end of the day, for me, it's, I've put a lot of work into this, and it's ongoing. It never stops. And as long as I play, it'll never stop. So, the thing that I've lived by is, Rome was not built overnight, so it takes time. And that's just the credit to the people that I've had around me to continue to keep building upon myself and, those type things. So, that's awesome that he said that he's a great guy. I've had talks with him before, when I see him and all that. So that's pretty cool.
8 catches, 145 yards, 3 touchdowns, all career numbers for you in a single game. When you're in a zone like that in a game, and I know it sounds kind of cliche or whatever, but what exactly are you feeling? What are you seeing? What are you thinking when you're in a game like that? And I know at the end of the day, you'd rather have the win.
Yeah, no doubt.
But when you have those personal numbers and you're just kind of in that zone, I mean, what are you feeling out there on the field?
Man, a lot of things. As a receiver, our job is to obviously first and foremost be physical in the run game. So, that's kind of our standard. Then after that, the pass game, like Coach Beatty always says, it takes care of itself. So, reading defenses and all that. And, one thing Coach Beatty always says, was a fantastic coach. He always says, we can't see things how we see it. We have to see how the quarterback sees it. So, when me and Geno are in sync, or when Geno's in sync with anybody, 9 times out of 10, they're in sync with the quarterback and seeing how he's seeing it. So that's a big thing. And, that's kind of what happened this past week, just knowing where to be. Because, he's going to look a certain way. He's going to look at a spot. And if you're there, he's going to throw it, So a lot of things is timing. It's NFL. You don't just have time to stand back there and, do what you want. Everything's timing and, just depending on the concepts and routes. So.
And he needs to have the time to be able to look down the field to find you. So, and he's in his first year with this organization. This is your third. How long, how short, how does that relationship build when you guys kind of get a vibe for each other and where he knows where you're going to be? But I don't think a lot of fans have really realized that a receiver is not just out there running routes, but they've got to also think about where the quarterback may be going as well.
100%, yeah. I mean, it's a lot of things. One thing I always tell people when they ask, like, what the NFL is like, it's a lot of mental stuff. So, knowing where you are in the read and the progression, that dictates of how much time you have on the route and what you can do on the route. So there's a lot of things like that. And like I said, Geno's, the best of the best. And, he demands a lot out of all of us throughout the week. And, I respect him so much for that. And, I'm a huge fan of Geno. And like I said, we got it going way back when he first got here. Yeah. So it's just things like that, knowing he can trust you to be where you need to be. Like I said, he demands a lot out of us all throughout the week. So, come game time, it's pretty easy.
Small sample size, only 3 games, but it seems like in this scheme, it's really working for your skill set in terms of you're taking advantage of your one-on-ones, especially with Brock out there and with Jacoby and some double teams happening. How does that help you with your skill set if you're able to take care of those one-on-one matchups?
Man, the game's easy, it feels like, if you're in a one-on-one.
Really?
So, yeah, like for me, it's like a one-on-one. I mean, that's what you want, a guy with my speed and the things I'm able to do, like that's really what you want. It gets tough when, they play different things on different people and all that, but when I get one-on-one out there, I'm smiling from ear to ear because, that's my time to win, and that's what they expect me to do, and I expect myself to do.
I think when it comes to sports, and as a high school wrestler myself way back when, I don't think there's any sport that's more one-on-one than wrestling.
Oh,
you wrestled in high school, and we were just talking about what weight you wrestled. Tell me a little bit about what you started to tell me about when you were a freshman.
Yeah, so I wrestled 106, but the issue was that I was 99 pounds as a freshman, and for those of you who don't know, wrestling's a lot of cutting weight. So usually if you're a 106 guy, you're probably 110, 113, and you're cutting to be 106. So for a guy like me to be way underweight, I'm pretty much wrestling guys against 20 pounds more than me. So it makes you tough, and that's why the sport is tough. So.
How did what you learned from high school wrestling, how do you adapt that and do things on the field? Like you just talked about, you have to be physical, you got to be a blocker as a receiver too. You're not just out there running routes and catching balls. How did your background as a wrestler, how could that potentially help you on the football field?
Oh, man, it's everything. Just my mindset and approach. Like I'm a physical player. I'm not the biggest, but I'm very physical. And just like I said, the mindset, tough. That's what wrestling breeds. I mean, you can't be a wrestler and not be tough. It's a very, very hard sport, and you will get exposed if you're not. So just wrestling all throughout my career, and I had cousins, 2 cousins, twins, and they were studs. I mean, best in the country, literally. Jordan and Jacob Decatur, you just look it up. So they used to beat me up when I was little, and I was like, I gotta get into this wrestling stuff, and I did, and it honestly just changed my whole outlook on life, and obviously it just helped with the sport of football.
So when you're 99 pounds as a freshman, by your senior year, what weight class are you wrestling?
Oh, see, so it's crazy things. I ended up stopping. So I was like, I wanted to play D1 football.
Gotcha.
And I was like, I can't play D1 football weighing 110 pounds. It's just unheard of. So I had to stop. And in the off season, I started weightlifting and gaining weight, and I ended up leaving college at like 150 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and we talked about this briefly too, when it comes to high school wrestling especially. There's that movie, I don't know if you've seen it yet, Vision Quest.
No, I haven't seen it.
You got to put that on your list though.
I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, because that's kind of what it all comes about. But then also to be able to translate that. A lot of football players, multi-sport athletes, you were football, obviously, wrestling, track and field. So obviously the track and field aspect for your speed comes in.
Yeah.
But when it comes to you with your speed and your size, like you said, you're 5'8", 5'9", it would be easy for people to put you in the category of simply either being a fast guy, a vertical guy, or either being a smaller slot guy. How important is it for you to be a complete receiver?
Oh, very important. There's one thing, I don't play the slot. I play outside. I mean, we move people everywhere, but I'm majority outside. And, I always say that's big boy football because that's where you got, the big corners, the long corners, and then you move inside and, they're smaller nickel guys. So to be able to play out there, like I said, it's huge, and that's a part of my game, but you can't just be a vertical guy out there. You got to have some nuance because at the end of the day, those guys are smart too. They know, like, oh, he can run. Well, we'll just play this. Well, what can you do against that, So having the whole package, I mean, it opens up your game and it puts you at putting them at more of a reaction type thing, and you dictate what's going on. So that's just kind of my skill set, and that's just kind of like the approach that I take of making them react, and I'm the dictator, so yeah.
That's awesome. And then lastly, I'll close out with this one. Last year, I know you talked about having the LASIK eye surgery. How did that help you, especially on the deep balls, being able to track the ball coming down?
A bunch. I mean, I just remember going to Chris, our trainer, after the season. I was like, I need to get my eyes checked out. Like, I always knew, like, it was a little off, but just getting the LASIK, it just makes things clear, and at the end of the day, like, you still have to put in the work to be able to track the football. Just because it's clear, doesn't mean you can still catch it. So you got to still be able to,
hand-eye coordination.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So doing a bunch of different things and, all that type sort of stuff. But the LASIKs were a huge boost and definitely recommended.
Trey, thank you so much for your time. I know you got to get out to practice. Appreciate you stopping by. Hey, coming up, we've got Cynthia Frelund, our resident math genius and predictive analyst. She's going to break down her numbers to know, especially breaking down Geno Smith's clean pocket numbers.
For the first time ever, step inside Allegiant Stadium on the eve of game day when the building comes alive. This exclusive 75-minute guided tour gives you a rare access to the final pre-game prep, sound checks, lighting tests, rehearsals, and more. Go beyond the standard experience with behind-the-scenes access to suites, clubs, and areas off limits on regular tour. Hear untold stories of the stadium, feel the energy of kickoff coming alive, and you might even spot Raider Rusher. This is your all-access pass to game day, before the gates even open.
You have to fight the battle of adversity.
Got to.
That's the only fight.
And
you
have
can't
to
run from that.
And you have to be accepting that adversity is going to continue to come because that's what life is. But with each moment, you're building yourself up for the next moment. That, once you overcome that one, you put on some armor, you're ready for the next challenge, and on and so forth. And that's what this is about.
You drafted him this high for a reason. You got to give him a workload to see.
Finding those mismatches with receivers, there's a lot of ways to create that space.
Tucker has simply polished his game.
So we're just trying to adjust to make sure that we're doing the very best we can with our guys.
Hey, welcome back to Upon Further Review. And as always, going to be joined here by our resident math genius and predictive analyst, Cynthia Frelund. Cynthia, great to have you with us again, as always.
I'll send the check in the mail, for that nice intro.
Well,
I got you. Thank you.
Exactly. So, and that's the cool thing about this, being able to break down the previous week, but then looking forward to the future, and that's kind of what we want to do with you here. So let's just jump right into it here when we're talking about who the Raiders are going to be playing. The Bears. Caleb Williams had a game for the ages, at least for him. He tied a career high, 4 touchdown passes, passer rating of 142.6 against the Cowboys. What did you see out of him when you're watching the tape of that or watching the game?
Well, the interesting part about the Bears is they're one of two teams. So if you're watching this Thursday Night Football, well, I guess it won't matter because the other one is the Bills, that they have scored on their first drive, which means the scripted portion where the coach is calling the plays like in Tuesday, Wednesday, the install's happening midweek. They're one of two teams that's very efficient on those first plays. Now, what happened is typically we've seen in previous Bears games, the defenses have adjusted and it's been a much harder read for that second drive, the third drive, the Bears to, get in rhythm past that first scripted period. And this time against the defense of the Cowboys, which maybe has some deficiencies, would have been nice way of putting that, right? There leave a little to be desired on that defense. They were able to capitalize and the game slowed down for Caleb Williams such that he wasn't under pressure. He was able to find his receivers. A lot of different receivers caught passes, which is nice. It wasn't just Rome Odunze or maybe even Rome and DJ Moore. There were other people involved as well. So it was it was something where the picture in front of him was something he understood. Now, I don't think that's going to be the case for him against the Raiders, but against the Cowboys in that particular game, the picture was very clear for him, and he had answers given what Ben Johnson had prepared him for.
Interesting when a quarterback has time and they have the ability to look downfield and see some things that are going on. And also as a runner, he's got the third best running grade in the league via Pro Football Focus, 86.7, and he did not take a sack in a game for the first time in his young career. So when a quarterback has time, when they can make some plays and they're able to look down the field, that's a recipe for success for that quarterback. From the Raiders' perspective on defense, though, they were able to cause takeaways in all 3 games thus far. So that's a positive. Didn't have the best game against Washington, but the positives, Max Crosby, he's doing Max Crosby things, right? 14 total tackles, 2 sacks, 4 tackles for a loss. When it comes to the Raiders' defense, does it all kind of start and end with Max Crosby?
Well, when you have a player of that elite level, it's always going to be about that player to some degree. But what I will say is the linebacker level has been a lot more efficient and effective. That's what's going to be very different. One of the things that with a Ben Johnson offense that you look for as a hallmark is the run game. And apart from Caleb Williams, who is a slightly more mobile quarterback than, say, Jared Goff, where he was before. Although I saw Jared Goff scamper for like 7 yards. It was pretty amazing against the Ravens. But the mobility of that quarterback's a little different. But the run game will be important. And those linebackers have been really good at forcing run stops. Now, we know Max Crosby, he lines up in a spot where, defending the run on the edge is always harder because typically teams don't run to the outside on Max Crosby's side because they're not idiots. But, he's still very helpful in the run game, despite the run going to the opposite side from him or completely away from him.
So it's interesting you mentioned the Raiders linebackers because you look at the numbers, and numbers can tell stories however you want them to tell them, right? I mean, it fits the narrative if it doesn't. Jamal Adams, he has the 7th best linebacker grade in the NFL right now at 86.5. This is a guy that's been a career-long safety, and when he was told that the Raiders were interested, Pete Carroll told him, no, now you're a linebacker. How interesting is that? Yeah.
I mean, that just goes to show what a coach of Pete Carroll's experience level, caliber, all of the things that make him eventual Hall of Famer are the reasons why you're putting people in the positions to succeed. It sounds really simple to be like, hey, let's let the guys who are really good at doing these things do these things, but that doesn't happen very many places. And Jamal Adams is an interesting case because he was always that sort of thumper safety situation, and then got criticized for not dropping back in coverage, but that's not what he does, and this and that. But it's really more about him buying into the whole Patrick Graham defense and the opportunities that are being afforded to him. That buy-in says something about him as well. So Pete putting him in the position to succeed, like he knocked it up and then Jamal's knocking it down, like set him up, knock it down.
Yeah, see ball, get ball. And I think with Jamal Adams, he's a perfect example of that. And the guy's been nothing but a positive influence on that defense so far. One more thing before we get into your numbers to know, though. Max Crosby has the potential for a game here, so to speak. He's going up against the right tackle in Darnell Wright. He had the lowest offensive line passing grade in week 3. What do you think Max Crosby can do here at home?
Yeah, it's going to be a long day at the office for him. I have not, we know that the Bears, they actually spent a lot of money this offseason on the interior of their offensive line. They changed up the entire middle, but they didn't address the tackle positions, possibly because at some point the free agency money has to be spent somewhere else. Although I can make the argument you should spend it all in the offensive line, but whatever. But that's going to be a difficult ask. Wright has been inconsistent since he entered the league. Max has moves that are really hard on even the best of the right tackles out there, and not to be mean to Wright, but he doesn't fall in that upper echelon of. Yeah. I'm not, I always feel mean saying that, but this is like a big, huge mismatch, a giant mismatch in favor of Max Crosby.
Okay, so you're saying Wright could potentially be wrong for the Bears on Sunday, and that's a terrible pun there, but you know what I'm saying. Let's get into your numbers to know, because I'm always real curious. I got a feeling that your number one number to know has something to do with the guy that went for 145, and 3 touchdowns, Trey Tucker. Tell me what we need to know about Trey Tucker.
Well, all 3 of those touchdowns happened in off coverage, so at least 5 yards of separation. That's a big deal. Number one, schematically, it's just hard to get someone that open, even someone really fast, even someone, who potentially maybe could be slept up. It's very hard for other people, for anyone to get that open. So credit to him for that, and to the scheme and Chip Kelly's scheme for making sure that happened. And then it was very funny to see, like, that off coverage situation was insane, but all of them were on in breakers. All 3 touchdowns were on in breakers, which is an interesting trend to note, which means possibly they were not, whatever the coverages that they saw were, and whatever he was calling against Washington, that's something where, with the missing pieces for the Bears in their cornerback level, it maybe won't be an in-breaker. It could be an outbreaker, let's say, but it just means that they saw something, were able to exploit it, and that's a scouting thing that I believe they'll be able to look forward to. Now, the Bears don't play off as often as the Bears don't play off as often as the Commanders do, but they don't pressure anywhere near the rate that the Commanders do. So Geno was really efficient when he wasn't under pressure. All 3 of those touchdowns came not under pressure. So less pressure just means, to me, this forecast to be like a pretty massive Brock Bowers game.
Ooh, well, and then
I mean, they all are, right?
Yeah, I mean, they should be. Yeah, as long as he's good to go. But right. that's what they call a tease in the business, right? Is what does a clean pocket and what does that do for a quarterback like Geno Smith when he has that clean pocket and he has the time to look downfield, like we talked about earlier with the Bears quarterback? Your number to know number 2 when it comes to Geno Smith in a clean pocket.
Yeah. Perfect passer rating last game on a clean pocket. Now, he was pressured 55% of the time. So this wasn't always happening in that particular game, but you can't get better than what he did. He nailed it. And when you look at that opportunity to, replicate the type of success, your receiver being wide open and your ability to navigate a clean pocket, that's kind of the proxy for how well a quarterback can play. It doesn't get much easier. I say that with quotation marks because it's never easy, right? But it doesn't get much more favorable of a circumstance than that. And the Bears give this kind of circumstance. They have guys on IR in their secondary that are good players. It's not like they're playing with their full defense, but they're not able to get the type of pressure. They're amongst the bottom in the league and getting pressure. So it should look a little different this game.
Again, another tease into your number 3. So when we're talking about pressure rates, what's your number to know number 3 when it comes to the Bears and their pressure rate and what Geno Smith could potentially face?
4th lowest. They're bottom of the heap in terms of pressure. So the opportunity to find many different pass catchers. I don't think it'll be funneled to one player. Now it'll always be Brock Bowers, but it won't be funneled to one player in these deep passes on in breakers in this specific going back to the exact same well. I think there's going to be a lot of pass catching options for this offense in this one. I really hope this is where we see the Ashton Jeanty breakthrough moment because we've seen the Bears run defense be very susceptible as well. So I think there's a lot of positive metrics that could really showcase how far this team has come. It's wild to think that it's week 4. And I would say we don't always know who teams are until at least October. Exactly. So I do think we're starting to round into form as to who this Raiders offense is. And I think it looks a lot more like those favorable situations, especially against the Bears. It's going to look a much rosier picture than against some other opponents.
I like when I find myself agreeing with you, Cynthia, not simply because it makes me feel good, but because I think I'm right, because I listen to your numbers, and with those numbers to know, with the Ashton Jeanty, a lot of talk out there nationally about, well, is he the right pick? It's simply too early, and I fully agree with you that we really don't know what teams are now until the first month of the season is really done. You just hope that you don't fall too far behind, right?
Yeah, and I mean, if you would have told people ahead of the season that in week 4 there would be a matchup between the Ravens and the Chiefs where each team had only 1 win apiece, I don't know how many people would have been like, you're crazy, that's nuts, right? So I think you got to remember it's not how you start necessarily, it's how you finish and how you see growth and the trajectory of growth through the season, especially, when you have rookie pieces to a run game that was not an efficient run game last season. It's not like things automatically get better. They weren't not running the football last year because they didn't have Chip Kelly. They also had some things that were working against them. So give Ashton Jeanty a hot minute to adjust to the league. And it's hard when you're, contact in the NFL is a lot more contacty than in college. It just is. These are much better. These are the best of the best of the best in the whole entire world. So give the kid a second to navigate that just a little bit more.
Especially when he's getting that contact before he even gets to the line of scrimmage many times.
That's right.
Cynthia, again, as always, I feel like I learned something. I feel like I'm smarter, even with your mug in the back that gives me PTSD from math in college. So thank you, as always. It's great to always have you on the show. Thanks for joining us this week.
Love seeing you. Let's go. And I'm always jealous that I am not. I got to get to a game because every home game, I'm like, I want to be there.
Maybe they'll have you light the torch one day.
It's my favorite stadium.
Yeah.
It's my favorite stadium. It's my favorite experience. And, I got to hop on a plane.
All right, well, that'll do it for this week's edition of Upon Further Review. Many thanks to our guests, James Jones, Tre Tucker, and Cynthia Frelund for helping us break down Sunday's loss to the Commanders while previewing this weekend's game against the Bears at Allegiant Stadium. To stay up on all things silver and black, check out our shows. We've got Raiders Roundtable on Mondays with JT the Brick and Hall of Famer Eric Allen. Talk of the Nation on Wednesdays with Baron Davis. The Silver and Black Show on Thursdays with Amber Theo Harris. And Raiders Game Day with Amber in the host seat, joined by Eric Allen and James Jones. Watch it all on our YouTube channel and log on to Raiders.com for more content. Until next time, thank you.